Hello friends, this is Nirmal here for Technique, and in this video we're going to compare two mid-range phones, the Moto M with the Oppo F1s. So these two phones are priced almost similar category, almost in the 15 to 20k pricing, with the Moto M priced 15,999 for the base variant and 17,999 for the 4GB RAM variant, while the Oppo F1s is priced 17,999 for the 3GB RAM variant and 18,999 for the 4GB RAM variant. So that's just the two variants of these two phones. So both the phones come in 3 and 4GB RAM and 32 and 64GB storage variants, and they have a lot of similarities. And in this video we'll compare all those aspects and see which is better device to buy here. So without any further delay, let's get started with a comparison. And first step, let's see the design and build quality. So design wise, both are quite different, and both are finished in metallic chassis. Both are we have the gold variant for both the devices, and both look pretty premium with really good premium build quality. And both have matte finishes, and Moto M has a curved finishing on the rear panel, while it's a flat back panel on the Oppo F1s. Oppo F1s is also slightly slimmer than the Moto M, but towards the edges the Moto M also is pretty slim and gives a good feel altogether. Now we have a fingerprint scanner on the front panel on the Oppo F1s, while it's on the rear panel on the Moto M. So these are the differences in these two devices. Also we have the on-screen buttons on the Moto M, while it's capacitive touch buttons on the Oppo F1s. So design wise, you can say that both are really good in build quality and finishing, but our personal choice would be the Moto M, which feel looks slightly more premium in terms of the build quality, although the Oppo F1s also feels really good. Now let's talk about the display aspect of these two phones. So here we have a clear winner. The Moto M comes with an IPS LCD panel, which is a full HD panel. It's a 5.5 inches screen size. On the other hand, the Oppo F1s is an HD panel. That's a 720 panel, again an IPS LCD panel with 2.5D Corning Gorilla Glass. There is also Gorilla Glass protection on the Moto M. And here we can clearly see that the pixels per inch and the overall display quality is better on the Moto M. Without any doubt, it's the Moto M which wins the display aspect. But having said that, the display on the Oppo F1s is also decent display. Even though it's an HD panel, it has good color quality and also viewing angles. Now let's talk about the software and the performance aspect. So software, there is a major difference. Moto M as usual is powered by the latest Android 6.0 Marshmallow, while we have the Android 5.1 Lollipop on the Oppo F1s. That's kind of disappointing for a phone released in 2016 to sport a pretty older software that's almost 2 generations old. This was Android Lollipop was released almost 2014. And we are not really sure whether there will be an upgrade on the Oppo F1s. So that's the software aspect. Now going into the details of software, we have the stock-like UI on the Moto M, and this pretty good UI, and it does give a great feel altogether because there are no bloatwares or no customization option. So if you're a person who loves the stock experience, this is really perfect choice, because there are no bloatwares included, and just the basic apps are FM radio file manager, and some apps from Microsoft are also included. Now there are no theming support or customization, but the UI looks really good and polished. Now on the other hand, the Oppo F1s is powered by ColorOS. That's the custom UI from Oppo, and we have this multiple home screens devoid of an app drawer. If you see the notification center and quick toggle, again they are customized one, and some additional options are also included in the settings. So you can see some gestures are supported, and you can also do some basic options in this device. So lock screen wallpaper and magazine wall lock screen options are pretty useful, because it will change the wallpaper automatically. So these are some of the additional options in the ColorOS. So overall, ColorOS just give you a completely different feel than the Android, but then the base software, that's the Android 5.1, is kind of disappointing for a phone released towards the end of 2016. So that was the software aspect of these two phones. Now let's talk about the performance. So the Moto M is powered by a MediaTek Helio P15 octa-core chipset clocked at 2.2 GHz and coupled with 3 GB of RAM and 32 GB of storage. There is also a 4 GB RAM which is coupled with a 64 GB storage. Now on the other hand, the Oppo F1s is also powered by a MediaTek chipset with a MediaTek 6750 octa-core chipset, and this is coupled with 3 or 4 GB RAM, and the 3 GB RAM variant has 32 GB of storage and the 4 GB RAM has 64 GB storage. Now talking about the day-to-day performance, you would say that both these devices are quite good and does the job pretty well. There's no major lags or issues on either of these devices, but when it comes to gaming, that's where the Oppo F1s has a slightly better performance than the Moto M, which actually doesn't perform really well, and there's also a slight heating issue on the Moto M. But on the other hand, the Oppo F1s does not have that much of issues, but then it's again not a really powerful chipset for gaming, so neither of these devices are really good for gaming. But in day-to-day tasks, both these devices perform pretty well and does not have any issues or lag. Now having a look at the benchmark score, the Antutu score, you can see that the MediaTek Helio P15 octa-core chipset is powerful than the MT6750 on the Oppo F1s. So even though the benchmark scores are not really something which affects the performance, but then still the benchmark scores are higher on the Moto M. Now both these devices have dual SIM cards and a micro SD card expansion slot, while we have a dedicated SD card support on the Oppo F1s. It's a hybrid SIM card on the Moto M. Now both these devices support VoLTE, and additionally the added feature for the Moto M is that it comes with Dolby Atmos support, so the speaker quality is slightly superior to what we have seen on the Oppo F1s. Now talking about the fingerprint scanner, the fingerprint scanner is located on the rear panel on the Moto M, while it's on the front panel on the Oppo F1s. But then it's a personal choice whether you like it on the rear panel or the front panel, and both these devices are pretty quick in unlocking the device, and it does not have any lags or issues in the fingerprint scanner experience. Now let's talk about the camera. So we have a 16 megapixel rear camera on the Moto M, while it's a 13 megapixel shooter on the Oppo F1s. With a LED flash, we have dual tone LED flash on the Moto M, and on the front panel we have an 8 megapixel shooter on the Moto M, while it's a 16 megapixel selfie expert camera on the Oppo F1s. Now if you look at the camera interface, you can clearly see that Oppo F1s offers additional modes and features, especially for the selfie experience. There are lots of features in offer and lots of modes to try out, and you can see that in terms of the camera experience, we would say the Oppo F1s does a better job with a lot of additional features, filters and options. But then Moto M also is a decent camera app which provides decent options like Pro Mode, Panorama FX, and some decent options. Now let's talk about the camera samples taken between these two devices, and here you can see first your rear camera. If you look at the rear camera experience, we would say the Moto M performs better. The color quality and the overall clarity and sharpness levels are better on the Moto M. Moto has been pretty well known for good camera experience, be it the Moto G4 Plus or even budget smartphones. So Moto M is also a good performer in terms of the camera experience, and the Oppo F1s is also a decent performer, but it will not beat the Moto M in terms of the overall experience. Now coming to the selfie experience, that's where the Oppo F1s has an edge, and the selfie expert takes better selfies, and also there are lots of modes to play with for the selfie experience. So selfies, we would give it to the Oppo F1s. Now finally talking about the battery. So we have a 3050 mAh battery on the Moto M, while it's a 3075 mAh battery on the Oppo F1s. So both these phones are quite good in terms of the battery performance and can get you through one day of usage on both these devices, and neither of them have an issue in terms of the battery experience. But Moto M has additional feature of turbocharging, so you can charge your device in pretty good time. So that's not available on the Oppo F1s. So now we have covered almost all aspects about these two phones. So which is the better device to buy here? So now we'll list out the pros and cons of these two devices. Now the Moto M has a really good design and build quality. The display is superior, the software is again superior, the camera performance is also superior, and it provides good battery experience, and the pricing is also way cheaper than the Oppo F1s. But the disadvantage of the Moto M is that the gaming performance is kind of laggy, not the best, and there is a heating issue while gaming. Now Oppo F1s has again good build quality and design, but the display is not that great. The software is outdated. That's a major concern for Oppo F1s, and it has a above average rear camera and a good selfie camera along with decent battery life. Now other disappointing aspect about the Oppo F1 is that it comes with only an HD display, and the pricing is pretty way too high than the Moto M. So out of these two phones, if you're not really into gaming, we would definitely suggest the Moto M with a good all-round package, and it does the job pretty well. The Oppo F1 is definitely a good phone for selfie experience. So if you're really into selfie experience, that's the only reason we would suggest the Oppo F1s. So that's all guys with this detailed comparison of these two phones. Hope you like this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos. And if you plan to buy these devices, we have the link available in the description of this video. You can use our link and get the device. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.